Welcome back, everybody. So another brew day is in the books. Let's go ahead and go over it. So this is my 2018 version of my Peach Tree IPA. Now the grain bill on this one didn't change, but some stuff later on did. So the grain bill for this is 11 pounds of 2-row, 2 pounds of Maris Otter, 1 pound of 20L, and 1 pound of 40L. So in total, our grain bill is 15 pounds. I did go ahead and use my drill on this one as I was running late. It was raining all weekend, and on Sunday I got a late start because I was trying to wait for the rain to stop, but it didn't want to, so I went ahead and started anyway. So typical thing, crush my grains before I do keep them in the house just to keep the temperature up. I think it was around 40 degrees out this day, so I wanted to try and keep as much heat in those grains as I could, so when I went for my mash in, it wouldn't bring the temperature down too bad. Now this one does call for 5.31 gallons of water for the mash in. I wanted to kind of make a thicker mash, so I went with 5 gallons just to try that. Usually when I experiment, I try and go slow. So, you know, a little thicker mash pretty much isn't going to hurt anything. So for the mash in on this one, it does call for 154. Now I did do a 150. Like I said at the beginning, I wanted to experiment a little bit and see what we could change. Now using a lower mash temperature is going to give us more fermentable sugars, which the yeast like. But in turn, it's going to make our body not as thick, because when you're at 154 or around there or higher, you're going to get unfermentable sugars, so that way your body of your beer is thicker. Also, the head on the beer, it could play into that, so we'll have to see. Using the 150, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but the next time I make this, I might have to add some wheat for head retention and to bring up that head some. So again, when I experiment, I try and take it easy, so that way I still have a beer I can drink. I just don't jump in and go crazy with what I'm doing. So this is a 60-minute boil on this one, same as always. So our first runnings came out to be 1085, and our second runnings came out to be 9 bricks. So in total, I think that's fine. I did not go back and look to see what my runnings were before, like on the 2016 or the 2017 version. But for the most part, we're going to be fine. But as you can see, this beer is pretty clear once you do that blower off and get it running well. So on this one, I did use the firm cap again. I use it every time. It does help to me, but you still need to watch your boil. You never know when it's going to boil over, and just because you use firm cap doesn't mean it's not going to boil over. So the hops at boil or in the boil are the same as they've always been. At 60 minutes, so right when it's boiling, you're going to use 1 ounce of Nugget, and again, that's the same as I've always used. Then you're going to use 1 ounce of Simcoe at 5 minutes. Then at flame out, you're going to use 1 ounce of Amarillo. Again, the same hop schedule for the boil. Where it will change is the dry hopping, and we'll get into that in a minute. But again, I wanted to go back just a little bit on the mash in temperatures. Like I said, if you're using a lower mash in temperature, you're going to get more fermentable sugars, so that's going to drive the ABV up. So if you're having issues, if you're making beer and your gravity, your final gravity is always over, or your ABV is always higher than what it should be, that's the first thing I would check. Make sure you're using a thermometer or something to make sure that your mash in temp's right, because like we'll see here soon, this does affect the final ABV on the beer. Most of the time I won't go lower than the 150 unless, you know, I really need to. But on this one I did want something different, so that's why I went ahead and tried the 150. So for the dry hop part of this, usually this calls for 2 ounces of Citra for 7 days. 5 to 7 days I think is where you want to be. But this year I did use the 2 ounces of Citra, but I also used an ounce of Azacca. We'll see how it plays out. I will go back and watch my video just for the tasting. Then after the 7 days for the dry hop, I went ahead and put it into the keg. And our final ABV on this beer is 9.04. Beersmith did call for a 7.1 ABV, so you can see with the mash-in temperatures that you will get a higher ABV. So this was a quick video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them below. And until next time, happy brewing.